Hello, world. Welcome, or welcome back. I am Goddess Dawn. By the time I upload this, it will be Monday, March 4th, 2019. I'm working. Unfortunately, I am here to talk about Robert Kelly. I say unfortunately because I'm sick of this, but I know that we got to stay on top of it. So I'm on top of it. And this article came up, and actually it's from a couple days ago. It's from AP News. Don't come in my comments talking about it's not a credible news source. So this particular article is just talking about the insiders and how complicit they may or may not be with regard to Robert Kelly and his accusations and his charges. I think I'm just going to read the article. I'm going to try that. The article is titled R. Kelly Insiders May Have Helped R&B Star with Sexual Abuse by Michael Tarm, February 26, 2019. After R. Kelly met a girl celebrating her 16th birthday at a restaurant, it was his manager who handed her Kelly's business card with the R&B star's personal phone number on it, telling the team that Kelly wanted her to give him a call, according to prosecutors. The 52-year-old singer-songwriter was charged last week with sexually abusing the girl once a month for a year after she retrieved the card from her mom's purse and phoned Kelly. In all, prosecutors accuse him of abusing four females, three of them who were between 13 and 17. Kelly is looking at the possibility of decades in prison if convicted, but there's no official word on whether the manager or anyone else in his inner circle might face charges for complicity in any abuse or for failing to report abuse if they suspected it. Legal experts say it's not obvious what laws could be invoked. All 50 states require that certain professionals, including doctors and teachers, report any suspicions of child abuse, but only around a third mandate that all adults do. Kelly's home state of Illinois is not among them. More than 10 Kelly associates, such as agents and security guards, could be exposed to criminal liability in the Chicago case for staying silent about abuse or actively assisting Kelly, said Michael Avenatti, a lawyer for two Kelly accusers. In a phone interview, he said Kelly depended heavily on others to target underage girls, to transport them, and to pay them off. To keep quiet over the years, he ascended from busking in Chicago subway platforms to become a best-selling music artist. Kelly could not have accomplished this for 28 years without assistance of others who looked the other way because they didn't want the R. Kelly gravy train to end, Avenatti said Tuesday. The question isn't limited to Kelly insiders. Critics have blasted law enforcement for not pursuing the Grammy winner more aggressively. Quote, every system in this city, police, courts, the South and West Sides, the churches, everybody has failed these young Black female victims, argued Jim DeRogatis, who, as a Chicago Sun-Times reporter, played a central role in revealing the sex abuse accusations. He told television station WTTW Chicago Tonight on Monday that 48 women have shared with him their stories of abuse by Kelly since 1991. Kelly's attorney, Steve Greenberg, declined to comment on any possible criminal exposure involving people around Kelly. He said he is, quote, constrained by the canons of ethics, end quote, from addressing anything other than the allegations directed at his client. Music industry stalwarts seemed to look the other way when whispers began 25 years ago and grew louder. Fans didn't back away either. In 2013, after allegations of abuse were widely known, concert venues sold out for the tour promoting his album Black Panties. The album peaked at number 2 on Billboard's R&B chart and sold 500,000 copies by 2015. His next album, The Buffet, went to number 1 in 2016. If prosecutors do go after Kelly's confidants, Avenatti expects many to turn on him. Quote, his handlers and enablers are going to look to save their own butts as opposed to R. Kelly, end quote, he said. In practice, charges against someone other than the abuser are rare. At Penn State University, 3 administrators were convicted of child endangerment in the case of former assistant football coach Jerry Sandusky, who was convicted in 2012 of raping and sexually abusing multiple boys. In sentencing, former university president Graham Spanier, senior vice president Gary Schultz, and athletic director Tim Curley in 2017, a judge said it would have been easy to pick up the phone to report what they suspected about Sandusky. Quote, they ignored the opportunity to put an end to his crimes when they had a chance to do so, end quote, Judge John Bocabella said. Texas has one of the toughest state reporting requirements, mandating that all adults report suspected child abuse. Violators can be imprisoned for up to a year and fined $4,000. Of just 117 people charged between 2008 and 2012 under the Texas law, fewer than a quarter were eventually convicted, in part because of the challenges of proving that someone did not do something, according to a 2013 report by the Houston Chronicle. Quote, it's hard to prove a negative sometimes, end quote. Jane Waters, then chief of the Special Victims Bureau of the Harris County District Attorney's Office, told the newspaper. A bill dubbed the Speak Up Act, introduced by Senator Bob Casey, would make it a federal crime in all 50 states if an adult who suspects a child abuse does not report it. But in 8 years since its introduction, the proposal has not garnered sufficient support to even come up for a vote. At least some child advocates worried about unintended consequences of laws mandating all adults in all situations report suspected abuse. They said child protection services nationwide are already stretched thin, and a burst of new reports, including an uptick in false ones, could draw staff away from investigations with better chances of leading to charges. Okay, so that was the article. That was long, huh? Thank you for still being here if you are. Um, so at the end of that, what I got is that the Child Protective Services is understaffed, and because they're understaffed, there's not sufficient support to do the work. Above that, they have Sandusky in here, who was molesting a whole university over decades, and yeah, but he's in jail. So, and then it also discusses his Kelly's confidants. And of course, Avenatti is saying he's confident that they're going to turn on him and these things. Although my reading did say that some will turn, others won't. So some will turn, of course. I think the newer people are probably going to be the ones to turn, meaning the ones that came up in the reading. Don Russell, he's the newer manager. I think the one who wrote the book, Demetrius, what is his name? Johnson? Whatever, Demetrius is the one who was with him for a long period of time as his manager. He even admitted to forging Aaliyah's birth certificate for the marriage certificate to show that she was actually 18 when she was only 15, and he knew she was 15. So I don't understand why he's going on the talk show route. I've seen him on different YouTube channels doing interviews, and he's promoting a book that he wrote. So I don't know. I don't know how credible he is. I've seen and heard things about him that are sketchy. He might be worthy of a reading. I think Isabel Mitton did a reading on him. Um, she said some wild things, that he and R. Kelly were lovers. and it was actually Demetrius that was wanting it more so. I don't know. But this article just speaks to the reading I actually did. I hadn't seen this article when I had done the reading, but it's interesting in regards to all 50 states requiring that certain professionals, doctors, teachers report any suspicions. Absolutely. Now, the third mandate that all adults do in all cases, it can be tricky because that's so easy to falsely accuse someone of not reporting something. Just like it is easy to accuse someone of or to actually report something falsely, it's very easy to make a false report. Let's keep that real. It would also be very easy to accuse someone of not reporting something that they supposedly knew. Hopefully, you understand where I'm coming from with this. The blanket mandate that they're speaking of is dangerous. So we have to keep an eye on these things. There was another article on AP also about R. Kelly. I'm going to pull that up. The title of this one is Prosecutors Paint a Dark Portrait of Manipulative R. Kelly. And this one is the one that had initially caught my attention. It outlines the bond hearing that occurred following his arrest the Saturday, the 22nd of February, and talks about some of the things that were mentioned in the hearing. Says prosecutors on Saturday painted a dark portrait of a manipulative and sometimes violent R. Kelly, describing how he repeatedly sought out underage girls for sex, including one he encountered at her 16th birthday party, and another who met the R&B star while he was on trial for child pornography. The accounts emerged as Kelly made his first court appearance since being accused of sexually abusing four people in a case that could produce another Me Too reckoning for a celebrity. A judge gave Kelly a chance to go free while awaiting trial, setting bond at $1 million. That means the 52-year-old Grammy winner must post $100,000 to be released or remain behind bars until he is tried on the allegations that date back as far as 1998 and span more than a decade. The prosecution released 4 documents, one for each accuser, outlining each basis for the charges. A 16-year-old girl reported meeting Kelly in 1998 at a restaurant where she was having a birthday party. Kelly's manager gave her the singer's business card and suggested she call Kelly. The girl's mother heard the exchange, took the card, and told the manager her daughter was 16, but the daughter later retrieved the card from her purse. She contacted Kelly, who gave her the instructions and money that she assumed was for the taxi fare to his studio, where they had sex periodically for a year, the document said. Another accuser, also 16, met Kelly at his 2008 trial, where he gave her an autograph. He later invited her to his home in Chicago's suburb of Olympia Fields, where they had sex multiple times, according to the document, which said he also slapped, choked, and spit on her. In early 2003, a Chicago hairdresser told prosecutors that she thought she was going to braid Kelly's hair, but he pulled down his pants and instead tried to force her to give him oral sex. The woman, who was 24, was able to pull away, but Kelly ejaculated on her and spit in her face, the document said. Prosecutors also described a witness who had access to videotape showing Kelly having sex with a 14-year-old girl. The witness turned the tape over to authorities and identified the girl, who repeatedly states her age on the footage, according to the documents. Kelly's DNA was found in semen on one of the accuser's shirts, and semen found on a shirt worn by another was submitted for DNA testing, Cook County State Attorney Kim Fox said. It is not clear when the accusers turned the shirts over to authorities, whether it was shortly after the abuse or more recently. At the bond hearing, Kelly's attorney, Steve Greenberg, said his client is not a flight risk. He told the judge, quote, contrary to the song, Mr. Kelly doesn't like to fly, end quote. One of Kelly's best known hits is I Believe I Can Fly. Greenberg said Kelly, quote, really doesn't have any more money, end quote, suggesting that others had mismanaged his wealth. Still, he had expected that Kelly would be able to come up with enough for bail. The judge called the allegations disturbing. The singer-songwriter looked down at the floor as the judge spoke. After the hearing, Greenberg told reporters that Kelly did not force anyone to have sex. Quote, he's a rock star. He doesn't have to have non-consensual sex, end quote, Greenberg said. The judge ordered Kelly to surrender his passport, ending his hopes of doing a tour in Europe in April. Kelly defiantly scheduled concerts in Germany and the Netherlands despite the cloud of legal issues looming over him. Greenberg denied that any tour was planned. The recording artist, whose legal name is Robert Kelly, has been trailed for decades by allegations that he violated underage girls and women and held some as virtual slaves. He was charged with 10 counts of aggravated sexual abuse. Kelly, who was acquitted of child pornography charges in 2008, has constantly denied any sexual misconduct. Okay, and then it goes on to go about his history in the music business and how he rose from poverty and all that stuff. I think this is important. It says charging Kelly now for actions that occurred in the same time frame as the allegations from 2008 trial suggests the accusers are cooperating this time and willing to testify. Because the alleged victim 10 years ago denied that she was on the video and did not testify, for those of you who dispute that, the state's attorney's office had little recourse except to charge the lesser offense under Illinois law, child pornography, which required a lower standard of evidence. Each count of the new charges carries up to 7 years in prison, and the sentences would be served consecutively, making it possible for him to receive up to 70 years. Probation is also an option. Probation is also an option. The walls began closing in on Kelly after the release of a BBC documentary about him last year and the multi-part Lifetime documentary Surviving R. Kelly. Together, they detailed allegations he was holding women against their will and running a sex cult. Me Too activists and social media movement using the hashtag #MuteRKelly called on streaming services to drop R. Kelly's music and promoters not to book any more concerts. Protesters demonstrated outside of Kelly's Chicago studio. The prosecution said in the indictment that abuse that happened more than 2 decades ago still falls within the charging window allowed under Illinois law. Victims typically have 20 years to report abuse, beginning when they turn 18. Okay, so with all of that being said, it's safe to say that we got people willing to testify this time. They are insinuating that the person willing to testify is the person in the tape who was 14 years old at the time. So, as I always say, time will tell. I just think that it's important that we don't lose the momentum, and we need to remember why it is this needs to stop. This behavior cannot go on any further, regardless of what these women choose to do with their lives, whether or not they want to stand by him or not. It doesn't matter, because there are girls being born and growing up every day. People like him are meeting these young girls, ruining their lives, breaking their spirits. We cannot let go of this. So I appreciate you listening. Um, I just want to make sure I'm not leaving out anything. So the choking, the spitting in the face, the abuse at 16 and 17 years old, even younger, obviously, but is horrific. But those ages are very impressionable ages for young women. For something like that to happen, that just can shape the rest of your life, and not in a good way. So, for people to defend him, obviously you have the right to do so, but it'd be nice if you do it quietly, because you're just putting yourself out there as a sympathizer to someone who is a monster. Honestly, whether or not these girls pursued him or not, or put themselves in his path or not, does not mean they deserved to have those things happen to them, to deserve to be spit on and choked and pissed on and pissed in, and all of that and more. There's more. But I'm going to leave it here. You guys keep it easy and cool. Peace. Thank you as always. Subscribe, like, comment. Positive vibes only, always. Peace. This video is for entertainment purposes only, and all insinuations, assumptions are alleged.